Across the sun-scorched plains of Africa, a white rhinoceros moves through the tall grass like a living fortress. Its skin is thick, ancient, cracked like dry earth after a drought. Few predators dare to challenge it, but this giant is fighting a war it cannot win alone. Ticks, flies, biting insects too small to see from a distance, yet impossible to ignore up close. They gather in the folds of its neck, along the base of its horn, and worst of all, in the delicate skin around its eyes. The rhino cannot reach them. Its legs are too short, its horn too blunt, its vision already weak. It shakes its head. It rubs against a termite mound. It blinks hard, again and again, but the irritation only returns. For an animal that can weigh over 2 tons, that can charge at speeds few humans could outrun, this is a battle fought on a scale it was never built for. Strength means nothing against an enemy this small. Every day brings the same discomfort. Every day, the parasites return. The rhino has no claws fine enough to pick them out, no trunk to wipe them away, no hands, only patience, and the hope that something, anything, might offer relief. And then a shadow passes overhead. A sound, wings. Something is approaching that this giant has learned not to fear. Something small enough to land exactly where the rhino cannot reach, right at the edge of its eye. Most animals would flinch. This one does not move at all. A red-billed oxpecker drops from the sky and lands without hesitation on the rhino's broad, armored head. The rhino does not startle. It does not shake the bird away. This is not the first time, and it will not be the last. For a creature the size of a small car, the arrival of a bird weighing less than a handful of coins should mean nothing at all. And yet, the rhino goes still, almost as if it has been waiting. The oxpecker wastes no time. It hops forward along the ridge of the rhino's skull, claws gripping tightly into skin thick enough to stop a lion's claws, but somehow soft enough for a bird's feet to hold. Its sharp eyes scan every crack, every fold, every hidden crevice where a parasite might be clinging. Then it finds what it came for. Close to the rhino's eye, nestled in the delicate skin the rhino itself can never reach, a swollen tick sits fat with blood. The oxpecker leans in without fear. One quick, precise motion, and the parasite disappears. The rhino barely blinks. There is no flinch, no warning grunt, no attempt to pull away. This is trust built long before this moment, passed down through years of encounters just like this one. What looks like danger to a human eye is, to the rhino, simple relief. Most predators keep their distance from something this size, but this small bird moves closer to the rhino's eye than almost anything else alive ever will, and the rhino allows it. Every step the oxpecker takes brings it nearer to one of the most vulnerable parts of the rhino's entire body. One sudden movement from the giant, one twitch of muscle, could crush the bird without the rhino ever noticing. But the oxpecker does not hesitate. It has learned what the rhino has also learned, that stillness is the safest place to be. The bird works along the rim of the eye socket, into the folds beside it, searching for anything hidden in the wrinkles of skin the rhino cannot see, cannot scratch, and cannot fix on its own. Another tick is found, another disappears. For a moment, two creatures built for entirely different worlds share the same small patch of skin, and neither one moves to break the arrangement. The rhino keeps its eye open, patient, unbothered, as the bird continues its careful work only millimeters from where sight itself begins. The oxpecker moves with a rhythm that looks almost rehearsed, though nothing about it has ever been planned. It hops from the ridge above the rhino's eye, down toward the base of the ear, pausing every few steps to tilt its head and listen, as if the parasites themselves might give away their hiding place with sound alone. Beneath the coarse, sun-baked skin, dozens of ticks wait in the folds most animals would never think to check. The bird checks all of them. Its beak works like a tool built for exactly this purpose, thin enough to slide into the tightest crease of skin, sharp enough to grip a tick swollen with blood and pull it free in a single motion. One is removed, then another. The bird does not rush, and it does not waste effort on empty ground. Every movement has purpose. Where the skin folds thickest, just behind the front leg and along the base of the horn, the oxpecker lingers longest, because this is where the parasites gather in the greatest numbers. The rhino stands almost motionless through all of it. Only the occasional flick of an ear or a slow blink shows that it is even aware of what is happening. There is no irritation in its posture, no urge to shake the bird away. Instead, there is something closer to relief. Each tick removed is a small mercy, one less mouth feeding on its blood, one less itch demanding attention it has no way to give itself. The bird returns again and again to the delicate skin around the eye, the one place on the rhino's entire body most vulnerable to injury, and works there with the same quiet confidence it shows everywhere else. A human hand would tremble this close to a 2-ton animal's eye. The oxpecker does not hesitate for a second. This is simply where the work is. Nearby, a second bird lands, drawn by the same opportunity, and begins searching the rhino's shoulder and flank. 2 small workers on one massive body, each covering ground the other cannot reach. Neither bird competes for the same spot for long. There is more than enough here for both. The rhino shifts its weight slightly, and both birds adjust without alarm, hopping to keep their footing, never losing focus on the task in front of them. Minute by minute, the parasites disappear. What began as an uncomfortable, itching morning slowly becomes something closer to stillness, the rhino's breathing slow and even, its enormous body finally, briefly, at ease. Then, without warning, everything changes. A shadow moves across the grass, low and fast, and every bird nearby reacts before the rhino even lifts its head. The oxpeckers freeze mid-motion, feet still gripping the folds of skin, eyes suddenly locked on the distance. Somewhere beyond the tree line, a shape is moving through the tall grass, careful, deliberate, and far too quiet to be anything harmless. A rhino's eyesight is poor at the best of times, but its hearing and sense of smell are sharp enough to catch what its eyes cannot. The oxpeckers know this. It is part of why they stay so close. In an instant, both birds burst upward off the rhino's skin, wings snapping loudly against the still morning air. That sound alone is often warning enough. The rhino's head lifts sharply, ears rotating toward the disturbance, nostrils flaring to catch any trace of scent carried on the wind. For a creature this size, danger rarely announces itself clearly, and every second of hesitation can be costly. The rhino turns its massive body toward the tree line, positioning its horn forward, the one weapon capable of ending most confrontations before they begin. The birds circle above, neither abandoning the rhino nor landing again until the threat is understood. Long seconds pass. The grass shifts once more and then goes still. Whatever moved through the shadows has changed direction, or simply passed by uninterested in a target this large and this well defended. The rhino does not relax immediately. It holds its position, waiting, testing the air one more time before its shoulders finally loosen. Only when the silence settles completely does the first oxpecker drop back down, landing exactly where it left off, near the base of the horn, as if the interruption had barely happened at all. The second bird follows moments later, choosing a fresh patch of skin along the rhino's shoulder. Neither bird seems shaken by what just occurred. This is simply how the partnership works. Alertness is part of the arrangement, not separate from it. The rhino lowers its head slightly, an unspoken signal that the danger has passed and the work may continue. Within moments, the rhythm returns exactly as before. Beaks searching, ticks disappearing, patience restored. What could have ended the encounter instead becomes only a brief pause, proof that trust between these two very different creatures runs deeper than a single moment of fear. By the time the sun climbs higher, the rhino's skin tells a different story than it did at dawn. Fewer ticks cling to its neck. The constant discomfort that once forced it to rub against every tree and termite mound in reach has quietly faded. What remains is something closer to peace, a giant standing still in the open grass, no longer fighting a war against enemies too small to see. This is the trade at the heart of the encounter. For the oxpecker, the rhino is not a threat to be avoided, but a walking source of food, a body covered in exactly what the bird needs to survive. Every tick pulled free is a meal earned without a single moment of danger, without the risk that comes from hunting insects hidden in open grass where hawks and snakes wait for careless movement. For the rhino, the benefit is different, but no less real. Relief from irritation, fewer parasites feeding on its blood day after day, and perhaps most importantly, an early warning system built entirely on instinct, wings that lift and scatter the moment danger draws near, giving the rhino precious seconds it would not have alone. Neither animal asked for this arrangement. There was no agreement, no understanding passed between species in any way a human would recognize. And yet, over countless encounters like this one, across generations long before this rhino was born, the pattern repeated itself until it became something closer to routine. The rhino learned to tolerate stillness near its most vulnerable places. The oxpecker learned exactly where to land, and when and how close it could safely come to danger. It could not survive if the rhino ever turned against it. Two creatures, built for entirely different lives, meeting in the same quiet patch of grass because each has something the other cannot get alone. The bird gains food it could not easily find elsewhere. The giant gains comfort and warning it could never provide for itself. It is not friendship in the way people imagine it. There are no gestures of affection, no bond beyond this shared moment of usefulness. But it works, and it has worked for longer than either species could explain if given the chance to try. For now, the sun rises higher over the plains, and the rhino stands still, patient, letting the small bird finish what it started, right at the edge of its eye. But this partnership is not as simple as it appears. Scientists who study red-billed oxpeckers and their relationships with large mammals have found something more complicated hiding beneath the surface. Oxpeckers do not only remove ticks. In some cases, they are drawn to wounds already present on an animal's skin, picking at torn flesh or reopening injuries that were beginning to heal, feeding on blood directly rather than waiting for a parasite to provide it. For a rhino with even a small cut near sensitive skin, a visit from an oxpecker is not guaranteed to be purely beneficial. This is why researchers hesitate to call the relationship a perfect example of cooperation. It exists somewhere between help and self-interest, shaped entirely by opportunity rather than any true concern for the rhino's well-being. The bird is not trying to protect the giant it lands on. It is trying to survive, and removing ticks happens to be the easiest, safest way to do that most of the time. When an open wound offers an even easier meal, the oxpecker takes it without hesitation, regardless of what that means for the animal beneath it. For the rhino, the arrangement remains a trade-off rather than a guarantee. Fewer ticks, less irritation, and an early warning of danger are real and valuable benefits. But there is also a small, persistent risk that the same bird providing relief might, in another moment, cause harm instead. Nature rarely offers a clean answer. This is not villainy, and it is not friendship either. It is simply two species pursuing their own survival, occasionally overlapping in ways that benefit both, and occasionally colliding in ways that do not. The rhino cannot fully control which version of the oxpecker lands on its skin on any given day. All it can do is continue tolerating the presence of a creature that, more often than not, leaves it better off than before. Scientists studying these interactions across the African plains have come to see this not as a flaw in nature, but as an honest reflection of how survival actually works. Few relationships in the wild are entirely selfless. Most are built on necessity, shaped by risk and sustained only because, on balance, the benefits still outweigh the cost. Watching the rhino stand still while a bird works just inches from its eye, it is tempting to call this friendship. But nature rarely deals in sentiment. What looks like trust is closer to a quiet negotiation, one repeated so many times across so many generations that it no longer needs to be decided consciously at all. The rhino does not tolerate the oxpecker because it feels affection toward it. It tolerates the bird because over time, the presence of ticks feeding endlessly on its blood has proven far worse than the small risk the bird occasionally carries. Comfort outweighs caution. Relief outweighs the rare cost. For the oxpecker, there is no loyalty to the rhino as an individual. Tomorrow, the same bird may land on a buffalo, a giraffe, or another rhino entirely, chasing the same opportunity wherever it appears. The relationship is not built on attachment. It is built on necessity, shaped entirely by what each species requires to survive another day. This is the quiet truth hiding beneath so many partnerships across the natural world. Cooperation is rarely chosen out of kindness. It emerges because two very different needs happen to align, and neither creature has to understand the arrangement for it to work. The rhino does not know why it feels calmer with the bird nearby. The oxpecker does not know it is providing comfort at all. It only knows where the food is, and how close it can safely get to find it. And yet, from this simple exchange, something remarkably stable has formed. Stable enough to survive drought, disease, and the slow passage of countless generations. Perhaps that is the real lesson written across this quiet moment on the plains. Survival does not always require loyalty or affection, or even awareness of the other party's existence. Sometimes it only requires balance. Two separate struggles for survival, brushing against each other just long enough to leave both sides slightly better off than before. The rhino blinks slowly, unbothered, as the bird continues its work at the edge of its vision, a reminder that even the smallest, most fragile-looking creature can hold real value for the largest animals alive, not because it means to, but simply because nature made room for it to matter. As the sun climbs toward midday, the rhino finally lowers its head and returns to grazing. The itching that once consumed its morning, now barely a memory. The oxpecker lifts off its skin one last time, circling briefly before settling on a nearby tree branch to rest. Its work here finished for now. Neither creature marks the moment. There is no farewell, no signal that the encounter has ended. The rhino simply moves on across the grass, and the bird waits for the next giant to cross its path. This is how survival works across the African plains, not through grand alliances or declared loyalty, but through countless small exchanges like this one, repeated quietly every single day. A tick removed here, an early warning there, a moment of stillness that costs nothing and gives something back to both sides. The rhino will never fully understand what the bird provides, and the bird will never understand what comfort it offers in return. Understanding was never the point. What matters is that it works, again and again, across generations, in every corner of this landscape where giants and small creatures share the same fragile balance of need. Tomorrow, another rhino will stand in another patch of grass, carrying its own hidden burden of parasites it cannot reach alone. And somewhere nearby, a small bird will notice and land and begin the same careful search it has performed countless times before. Not out of kindness, not out of loyalty, simply because, in this ancient and unspoken arrangement, both sides still have something the other needs. This is the quiet truth of the wild. The largest creatures are rarely as self-sufficient as they appear, and the smallest are rarely as powerless as they seem. Somewhere between them, in the space of a single tick removed from the edge of an eye, survival finds its own kind of balance, one neither creature ever set out to build, and one neither could survive without.